What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to talk to you on Rivian. I'm going to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, talk on what might cause some volatility in the stock price, go over some of the data points, as well what big money is currently doing. Before I get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So based on Friday, it did go up 1.89%, a lot of volatility. So $16.30 the low, $16.95 was the high. And when I go over some of the technicals, it'll make a little bit more sense piecing it together, but 30.37 million shares being traded, 51 is the average. So a little bit low for that. You do see this abnormal spike all the way up to around $17.20 after hours Friday, which was very, very random, especially considering there was no news, no SEC filings, nothing really to justify that big spike up. The latest that did come out as far as forms was a Form 144 that came out Thursday, which did signal that an insider was essentially selling. As you can kind of see, 𝗪𝗓𝗡𝗡𝗖𝗧, who is a officer, did sell roughly around 3,265 shares, but still in the grand scheme of things, she has a massive amount, so about 173,000 shares left. So selling 3,000 isn't that big of a deal, even if it is actual straight up sell, not for tax purposes or whatever else. So once again, I'm not really sure exactly why it did go up. Potentially that might be a little bit more optimistic going into next week. Maybe there is some news that might be coming out. But as far as some expectations for this upcoming week, there's only one thing to really watch for data point wise, and that is right here. So the Fed meeting minutes, so that is coming out Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Which is kind of the tail end of the day. So that's going to be the last driving factor and what people can really talk on for the rest of the week, essentially, because Thursday the market is closed due to Thanksgiving, and then Friday it is a early close. And the only other thing that might really cause some volatility in the stock price is good old Nvidia earnings, which is coming out Tuesday after hours. So a lot of people are going to be paying attention to their future guidance and what they say. So in reality, it is going to come down to those two data points, but you never know. This is very, very peculiar based on just this big spike, and a lot of big money did get in. So these are some of the transactions that did occur Friday after hours, which even saying that out loud, that's crazy. Normally Friday after hours is a desert, it's a dead zone. Nobody who is on earth buying Friday after hours. It makes no sense unless someone kind of heard some speculative, maybe rumor, I'm not really sure, but 1.27 million, 2.81, 1.08, there was a fairly big one at 14.4 million shares. So again, a lot of interesting stuff is happening with Rivian, and the technicals are also justifying a uptrend. But as of late, there hasn't been any new analyst ratings. So last was roughly around 11 days ago. John Murphy, Bank of America, $40 price target. So I've been saying this time and time again, even though Rivian is going down because a lot of the articles coming out are very bearish on Rivian, and some of the data points as well that I'm going to share, but analysts do see past that and see that Rivian does have a lot of good potential. And I honestly do feel that Rivian is going to be the next big contender against Tesla. And obviously Tesla is going through its own issues right now. So Rivian potentially does have a lot of good opportunity in the coming years that it could capitalize on, and clearly a lot of analysts see that. So once again, make sure you guys always do your own due diligence no matter what. I'll start off by going over options activity. So options based on Friday, there was roughly around $5.97 million in calls being purchased versus 4.19 million in puts. So based on this information, people are anticipating for it to continue to trend up. Looking at the specific call options though, shows all the strike prices, expiry dates based on the open interest. It is anticipated for it to be, or I'm more so looking at the volume, it's anticipated to be above $17 by the end of next week, which like I said is a rather short week. And looking at puts, it is anticipated to be sub 1550, which is kind of where it was heading to on the 16th, if I remember correctly. So it was a pretty substantial sell-off that was happening. And I actually did sell some puts that day at 1550 of a strike price, only because that's pretty much free money. And for those of you that don't know how to do options, highly suggest in researching them, because as sell-offs do happen, selling covered calls or either selling puts is a very good way to collect some easy money, some easy premiums. And plus, if it does go and continue to trend down, then you get to buy it at the price that you do ideally want. So obviously if Rivian was to have trended down continuously below the 1550, then I would have gotten some additional shares at the price I wanted. So it's kind of a win-win. So make sure you guys always research, because they can be very beneficial and profitable. But no matter what though, looking at this data right here, options wise, this is just merely a sentiment. It does not move the stock price. But quickly moving on, just going over what shorts did on Friday. Shorts returned roughly around 905,000 shares. 15.45% of the free float is being shorted. 103.65 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average is 0.4%, very, very low. And based on the Interactive Broker short availability, does indicate that there's more than 10 million shares available to be shorted. And I haven't actually seen this with Rivian before, but it is very odd to see that the cost to borrow minimum is negative. So it's negative 0.81%, meaning there is a broker out there physically paying people to short Rivian. Very weird when it comes to that. But no matter what, I'm just bringing this up as a benchmark. Definitely Rivian is not going to be a squeeze play by any means. So once again, just letting you know about that. But the fact that it did close green on Friday and shorts returning some of their position, that does signal that they feel that it's justified and that it can trend up. So you kind of have the both optimistic, the options, and as well as this information right here. But moving on, let's talk on technicals, shall we? So with it at $16.70, let's just look at the 4 hour for more of a short-term view. But $16.70 does place it between this P and this R1, which in comparison to a lot of other growth stocks is doing fairly well. $16.43 is going to be that next strong support going into next week. Vice versa, $17.82 is going to be the next strong resistance. And based on the options, people were anticipating on a bearish scale for it to be below $15.50, vice versa. Optimistic people were anticipating for it to be above $17. So obviously you kind of have it outside of the realm of where it's currently at, so between the P and the R1. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. A lot of people do like to look at Elliott for technicals, and I just want to give you an overview of what that is saying. So it does place the pivot point at $14.20. So for as long as it stays above $14.20, this will kind of hold relatively true, but it does show that in the short term, it should be trending between the $22.90 and $24.60. And we have seen that in the past, that when Rivian goes up, it goes up. It means business. And Rivian has really flexed, bouncing off of that very strong support that happened on the 16th. So in my opinion, it could very much come true between this $22.90 and $24.60, at least in the short term. And like I mentioned, even looking at a lot of the analyst ratings, based on that, it's still relatively conservative, if that makes sense. Because all the analysts combined, it does have a consensus of around $26.28, which does represent a 57.37% upside potential. So once again, let me know your thoughts on all of that in the comments below. And while I'm on Interactive Brokers, I'll just quickly go over here. So the latest Morningstar report does actually place it kind of within that range as well. So the fair market value being $23.17. So let me know your thoughts on that. If you are looking for a lot of good compiled information, such as analyst ratings, forecasts for upcoming earnings, everything under the sun as I've been showing you, take a look at Interactive Brokers, completely free for all this information. Link in the description below and also the comments. So in my opinion, this upcoming week, definitely a lot of the data points, so the options activity, the short information, as well as the technicals are all pointing to bullish. So I do tend to agree with the technicals that this week should be very good and that most likely it'll be above that $17 range, especially if the Fed meeting minutes are positive as well as NVIDIA earnings, then it could easily be above this 1782 and probably trade between this R1 and this R2. But no matter what, Rivian does have some fairly wide gaps on the fib levels, so you have to anticipate that there's going to be a lot of volatility. But no matter what, let me know your thoughts on all of that. Give yourself a shout out. Have you been buying, selling, holding? What have you been doing with Rivian over the last little bit? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And one final thing I just wanted to share with you. Take advantage of this promo only up until November the 20th. So just sign up for an account with Moomoo, throw $100 at it. You get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. Plus you do get 1 free share of SoFi. So for $100, you get 6 free stocks plus any cash that you do have in your account. You're going to be earning 5.1% APY. So free stuff, you might as well take advantage of. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, I appreciate all of you watching.